Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better, and I am very, very happy to introduce our guests today. They are one of the most sought-after marketing copywriters in Australia, and they run what many regard as the highest level private marketing group in Australia, Elite Marketers. He created the online simple email ROI system course, and over the past 21 years has written for gurus and leading companies, including Kerwin Ray, Jay Conrad, Livingston of Guerrilla Marketing fame, Marcola.com, and The Learning Annex. I am very happy to have Scott Bywater on the show. Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to this podcast. It should be a lot of fun.
I am too. So I read off some little bits of your bio that you provided here, but I would love for you to introduce yourself to my audience and let them get to know you from your words.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, basically what I'm really passionate about is email. Yeah, is the email marketing side of the world, and I've been involved in direct response copywriting for I'd be over 2 decades now, specifically involved in that. And one of the things that I've really found over the years of all the clients that I've worked with is that everything is that email basically ties everything together. And yeah, so that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm passionate about what I do. And it's also because one of the things I look at, particularly if you're just thinking about starting out in business and making that leap, you need to sort of manage the risk reward, right? Of how do I actually get myself into the marketplace without breaking the bank? And I think email is one of the most cost-effective ways of doing that. So that's really what my focus has been over the last 2 decades.
So I want to know, so you've been focusing on emails. They've been around for at least 30 years, probably longer, but sales emails, at least 20 years. I know I've been started getting those when I had my first Hotmail account. But I want to know, how did you get into direct response marketing?
Yeah, how did I get into it?
Yes.
I started out at about the age of 17 in door-to-door sales, and then I went into telemarketing, cold call telemarketing. And then at the age of about 24, after I'd done several sales roles from account-based selling, telemarketing, door-to-door sales, call center operating, training call center operators, the whole lot, I decided I was going to I opened up a hairdressing salon. And then at the end of that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to focus on marketing. I'm going to become a marketing consultant. And what I found as I did that is a lot of it was copywriting. And then my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she saw an ad for, I think it was a Reader's Digest. And long story short, the copywriting manager loved me, but the HR manager, not so much. Because I had I didn't have the most consistent job track record back then. So I didn't get the job, but I got the confidence. And I specialized in copywriting. And from that day onwards, that's when I really learned, Phil, about the importance of niching. And it didn't really happen because I had any deliberate strategy. It happened by chance. But from that day onwards, when I started to call myself a copywriter, my income, admittedly from a low base, but it jumped by 10% by 10 times overnight. And the reason for that was, it's just there wasn't many copywriters in the space at the time. The market needed it. The supply and demand was in my favor. Mm-hmm. And I was decent at it. Nowhere near as good as I am now, but I had the skill set. So I think that's a really good learning. If you're if someone's listening to this and they're thinking about taking that step and going out on their own, really think about the niche and the marketplace that you're entering.
That's super important. The being a generalist isn't a skill that you can really do. You need to be deep down into one particular area and be an expert in that, because that's going to be where you get the money. It's specialization nowadays, I see, moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
So when that happened, when that HR person said no, and you decided, hey, I'm going to be a copywriter, and your income 10x'd, what were the next steps? Like, did you go and work for agencies? Did you start your own agency?
Yeah, so for me, from that moment onwards, it happened quite organically. Like, I had some connections and I made a sale here and a sale there, but I come from a very direct response, hard-hitting sales type of background, which also lent itself to copywriting, right? Because copywriting is really just salesmanship in print. So there's an interesting story. I started to reach out to people about general copywriting, and I decided to target the hairdressing niche, because I had a little sort of business in hairdressing before I went into the marketing space. Not that I was incredibly successful or anything, but it was a big learning curve. And what I found is that I went to like 11 meetings and made one sale at $200. So it was something ridiculous like that. It was like $20 a meeting. It was nothing. And then again, and this comes down to target market, I thought, you know what, I'm going to call people with Yellow Pages ads, because if they've got like a quarter page Yellow Pages ad at the time was at least 20 grand. I thought I can improve their Yellow Pages ad. So I would reach out to business owners. I would just cold call them. I had a script, and with this script, I could at the time get meetings. This was back when people actually answered their phones. But I could get meetings with probably 30 to 50% of the people I spoke with. So I would have a meeting. I would take them through my sales pitch, and my conversion jumped to 1 in 2 and 1 in 3, and it was like $1,000 to $2,000 sales. So it was a big shift. And then I realized, it's not only how you niche, it's also the market that you actually go after. And then from there, it just became very much. I got into some. It was really when I started doing email that I built reputation. And that's a real benefit of email, because I did an email a day for 10 years to my email list. So that's every weekday. So not I had weekends off, but I did it every weekday. I sent an email to my email list, and that built reputation, that built clients. What I found was, if someone had received enough emails, they were much easier to sell to. And that's been confirmed in books like They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And he was doing blog posts, but what he found was, if someone absorbs 30 or more pieces of content before a sales meeting, the conversion rate jumps from 10% to 80%. And that content can be, it can be anywhere, right? Blog post, email, podcast, but it jumped up considerably. So that consistency was very powerful. And the other reason why that's quite powerful, there's a guy called Joe Girard, and he's the greatest car salesperson in the world has ever known. That's what he's famous for. And he's written a book called How to Sell Anything to Anybody. And what he says in that, one of the biggest takeaways I got from that book, and a large percentage of what it was about, was in the follow-up. So when he made a sale, he would send a postcard or a letter, or he would keep in touch with them every month for like ever. And we're so guilty as business owners. We're focused on the front end, but so it's not only for getting clients, but once you get clients, you want to make sure they don't forget about you. So I'm sure you've had, Phil, I don't know, you've hired a plumber or someone to fix your dishwasher or something at some stage, and then like tap leaks again. You're like, oh, we've got to call a plumber. What was that plumber's name again? They were really good. And it was 5 years ago. And you go, I don't remember. And that is the easiest money that any business owner could ever make. But because you haven't followed up with email or you haven't stayed in touch, you're forgotten about, and it's as good as cutting up getting a pile of $50 notes and cutting them up into pieces and throwing them in the trash.
Oh, the follow-up is so important. Yeah, that is one of the key things that I'm learning for getting people on podcasts, and that is the follow-up after your guest has come up. Make sure they're aware of the process, how everything's working, so that they're happy. And I'm glad you're reconfirming it now here on the podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's so critical, and even after the opt-in, right? So if someone's listening to this and they're like, I'm thinking about starting a business. I mean, one of the things I would do is sort of get clear on your niche and maybe just create a white paper, and starting like a white paper or a free report, something really educational, and advertise it. Throw an ad on Facebook, put some content out, link to the where they can download it in the comments, that sort of thing. And then once they download it, then keep in touch with them via email. Build that relationship over time, and you could slowly build up a side hustle doing that quite easily, following that strategy.
Oh, that's genius. That's genius. When you started on this journey to where you are now, being one of the most sought after speakers for marketing, started after copywriter. What am I saying? Speaker. How did you move into that? Like, how did you consistently show the ROIs for your business, for the owners that you were working with?
Yeah, so how did I get the ROIs?
Yeah.
I think that really, like, in terms of getting the results for the clients, that just comes down to ongoing education, skill development, all of that sort of thing. Like in the early days, I used to, I'd get up at 6 a.m. and I'd just rewrite some of the top sales letters in my own handwriting. So, and to really develop that skill and get masterful at it. But it's like my wife says, I mean, nobody reads like I do. I would have read hundreds of books, and you're pulling all of that information together to create incredible copy. So it's like any craft, Phil. Like if you're a builder, if you study, if you practice, you get really good at building. It's the same with copywriting or whatever anyone's listening to here. But then the question is, whatever that skill is, how do you actually sell that skill? And that's where the copywriting, which is basically like salesmanship in print, comes in. And that really comes down to understanding your target market at a really deep level. So really understanding them and doing the research to understand them is one of the most critical things. Understanding how to write copy. Now the game's changed a bit with the advent of AI, and I would encourage everyone listening to really have a think about how they can leverage AI, because it is one of the things that really has irked me over the years is I know the power of something like email, but I talk to business owners and they've got customer lists and all sorts of things, and I know there's $100,000 plus easily sitting there in their email list. It's like what's that book, Acres of Diamonds, right? There's like diamonds in your backyard, and they're just ignoring them because they don't know how to do it. And then for the smaller business, like a copywriter like me is very expensive, right? So most of the time, if you're just starting out, you can't really afford to hire a copywriter. However, what you can do with AI is you can literally, like, I show people this stuff and they're like, it's like I've shown them, some sort of magic trick, right? It's
fully.
it's incredible. Yeah.
yeah, I found out about ChatGPT when it came out in like November. I started following this. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Seeing the businesses pop off on it and just see how useful it is for me,
Yes.
just for podcasts. Like it takes literally seconds, and I have a year worth of episodes. I have the intros, the bios, or any show notes I need for my episodes done in seconds for me. It's phenomenal. And the copywriting, well, most people, I wanted to ask you this because about copywriting and the AI, and I'm glad you said that business owners that can afford a full-time human copywriter should leverage these tools. Are you worried that AI is going to take copywriting away from you?
It's definitely going to change the game, the AI component. However, having said that, the AI I look at, it's like a chainsaw. So and it's like a tool in your toolkit. So if you're like, let's say I hand someone a chainsaw, they don't know how to use it, they could chop off their arm, right?
Mhm.
So they could really do some damage with that chainsaw. But if they know how to use it, they can cut up they can cut up wood like 10 times, 15 times, 20 times faster. And it's very similar to, with the AI component with copywriting. So where it's really powerful is to understand, and where I think the edge is for business owners is understanding how to use AI. And that's really the key, because if you just go to ChatGPT, if you want to write an email, you can go to ChatGPT, for instance, and you can put in there, I'm a gutter cleaner. Write me an email about how to clean your gutters faster, or whatever it is, right? So you punch that in, and it'll punch you back an email, and you'll go, wow, that's amazing. However, if you get more nuanced, like you can use platforms, for example, like Jasper, which I use, and you're literally working off it's like a Google Doc, right? So you can go in there and you can program it. So we spent about 20 hours working out how to program this. So it actually talks to your customers' fears, their pains, their desires, and it's like super nuanced. And then you can write emails along the lines of, like, you could write a Q&A type email, a problem aggravation solution email, a bust a myth email. I think we've all even got a Frank Kern interest story template sort of email in there. So, and it will literally write those emails for you. But having said that, Phil, one of the things that's happened is with AI, there's going to be a lot of crap content out there, right? So it can do more. I believe it's going to do more damage than good to brands who don't know how to use it, because people are going to look at it and they're like, it's not nuanced. There's no personality in it. I don't get to know the person, all of that sort of thing. So you want to work with that AI where you can throw your own story in. Now that may be by going to Otter AI, which is like an AI transcription service, and speaking it, and then throwing that into the email, and then sort of playing with it around that. Then the other question is, well, what emails do I write? Now, where AI is very powerful, it's like a brainstorming buddy. So there's two things that hold people back from writing more emails. One is I don't know what to write about, and two is I don't know, I can't get started. I'm looking at a blinking cursor, sort of blinking cursor syndrome sort of thing. So they're the two things that hold people back. So that has been taken away with AI. So there's massive opportunity where I see it. Personally, I'm not too concerned for myself. If I was just a content writer who was just punching out normal content, I would be concerned. But what I'm excited about is that that business owner who won't send emails because they've got those two problems. He's got an acre of diamonds literally in his backyard, and now he can access them. So this is a tool. This is the shovel which can dig up those diamonds, essentially. Because like even a business owner with 50 clients, he might be like, email can't work for me. I don't have a big list, right? So let me give you an example of why list size isn't the number one factor. I did a launch years ago, and I had a list of it was about 7,500 people, something like that. I had about 180 to 200 paid subscribers at the time. I did a launch. We made 42 sales at $1,000. When I went back and actually analyzed the data, which most marketers don't do, because we're on to the next, and often I haven't done it. 80% of those sales came from the 200, 20% of the sales came from the 6,800. Now, that shows it's the quality of the list. Now, I had another guy, he does a lot of JVs, and he did a joint venture with with someone. Like, he's done joint ventures where he sent it out to thousands and got nothing. One guy, 33 people, and last I heard, he made 8 sales at $3,000 from a 33-person list. So that's like, what's that, $24,000? So it's almost $1,000 per name on the list from a set of 3 emails.
Well, you saying like the diamonds are in the backyard and there's acres of them just reminds me of what Russell Brunson says about email lists, how every name on there is at least $1 in your pocket, because they're either a future sale or a current sale. Like, if you send something out, you never know when they'll be in that mood to be like, yeah, I'm in the mood to buy.
100%. 100%. It's you just don't know. So you could be in touch with someone. So not everyone on your list is going to buy, but if you keep in touch and you nurture them, then odds are at some stage they're going to be ready, because it's like, we're ready for different things in our lives at different times, right? So you might sign up for some financial education, share trading, but you might be crazy busy. You're trying to build up your business. You're not ready for it at the moment, but it's just percolating along, all that sort of thing. But in 3 years, you sell your business, you get a payout, you got all the time in your world, and you're like, oh, that guy that's been in touch with me for the last 3 years on share trading, you know what? I'm going to get in touch with him. And I've had that happen. I had a guy reach out to me the other day. He'd been on my email list for like 7 or 8 years. And it was a very easy sale, just because the relationship had already been established through the emails.
I love it. I do want to get a tip for, because you did share this with us, but like a tip for people when they're starting, how they can write their email in under 7 minutes.
Yes, yeah. So how do you write it? How do you write it like super quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, there's two ways to do it. If you're not using, there's probably 3 ways to do it. Okay, so if you're not using AI, you can talk right. Yeah. So most people they get like, they don't know what to write about. But have you ever sort of sat there when you're talking and just not knowing what to say? Generally not, right? It's pretty easy to talk. So what I encourage you to do, look at the latest question you got and just talk it and then write it. So if someone asked you the other day, Phil, I don't know, how do you start a podcast? I'm sure you can talk about that without too much thought. You just go bang, and it comes to you naturally, right? So you talk it, you write it, you talk it, you write it, you talk it, you write it. You'll have an email written very, very quickly. Likewise, okay, you could even, if you want to even shortcut that even more, you can go to otter.ai. You can talk your response directly into a microphone, and then go back and take that transcription and edit it. And that transcription will happen real time. So then you go back and edit it. Now, the other way you can do it is you can plug it into the AI frameworks, like something like Jasper, and you go and you create the email blueprint, and literally within like you can give it 2 prompts. I've got a method where you can give it 2 prompts and it will literally write the whole email for you. And then you can just go in and tweak it. So and that's what frustrates me so much, Phil, is I see business owners, and I'm like, and I love small business owners, because I see it as it's like the pumping heart of our entire economy. And I know how hard it is to run a business, and I see them trying all these different things and Facebook ads and this and that. And listen, I'm not a purist. I'm not like email is the only way, and it's only email. But in terms of return on investment and return on effort, There's just nothing, there's nothing better. And even all of those strategies like Facebook ads, all of that sort of thing, if you're going to turn someone into a $3,000, a $5,000 sale or whatever, you're going to need email as part of the equation to build the trust. So it filters in to everything.
So true. I need to get more emails. I know I need to get harder on the emails for my guests and for my followers. But I want to have a memory, because you've been doing this for 20 years now, more than 20 years, but been in the game. I would love a memory that kind of either a win you got for a client or a customer, or maybe something that just hit home, what you're doing, what like the fire that just burns through all day and all night, allows you to have those lows and then celebrate those highs.
Yeah. I think the memory that stands out when you ask that question is I did a launch for a client once, and this was with email, and admittedly they had a decent size list, but we built up to this launch, and we were using a bit of the product launch formula and a combination of that with some of Frank Kern's sort of mass control. And I actually had a failure the time before, because even though I used those concepts for myself, we did a launch, but I sort of tried to cookie cutter it and I didn't do the research properly and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And it didn't do great. We made some sales, but it didn't do anywhere near what we were anticipating. So then the next time, then a client came to me and said, we want to do this launch. So I said, I'm going to go deep dive with the research on this and get this like really right. So anyway, we did it. We built up to it. We were getting like 700 comments on like blog posts on the lead up to the launch day and everything. Launch day happened. The servers, they did actually melt. They had like problems with the amount of traffic coming through. But despite that, at the end of it, they brought in about $500,000 from, within a week that launch was open. So it's like, that was like a big, exciting win. And then I've repeated that with a number of six-figure launches since then. And even this week, Phil, like I've got a client at the moment, and I don't think he's ever done a webinar like this to his list. And he cut it off. I said, don't cut it off, because he had 500 people registered. I said, don't cut it off, because only 30 people are going to rock up anyway. But I think he actually had a 60% turn-up rate, which is unheard of. He's got a very good relationship with his list. But we put like 500 to 700 people over 2 webinars onto a live webinar to close sales. Like it's brilliant. He's got this untapped asset, and now it's like, now he's got that. He's done it to a warm list. He can take that and do it to run that on Facebook, because that's another thing with email, is using it you can use it as a testing ground, right? And this is very important, because I'm throwing some big numbers out there and all of that sort of thing with big clients. So I'm aware that a number of people listening might be like, hey, I'm nowhere near that. I'm trying to get out of having a job and sort of do that. But anyone can, like, the reason email's so powerful, like you can run a strategy and go, okay, I don't have time to do calls and do all this sort of thing, but I'm just going to do that free report. And then I'm going to send a series of emails to build the relationship with them. Anyone can do that. And then you can just put them into a calendar appointment at the end and have those appointments when you're ready. That can be your call to action. So anyone can do that via email. And then once you can test what works. Okay. And once you know what works, you can then go, I call it launch to funnel, right? So you might run a launch with the email, because it's much easier to sell to your mum, like people who know, like, and trust you, than a stranger. But once you've proven you can sell to your mum, then you can go out to the cold market.
I love it. Genius advice. More like you're just dropping knowledge left, right. I can't wait to re-listen to this episode and see what I missed, because I was trying to pay attention and formulate the next question. So I'm really excited to listen back to this episode. But we are getting close to the end of the episode, Scott. So I'm going to ask you the spark question of the show. and then we'll see what you say about that. As everyone knows, Spark question comes from Seek Discomfort, and it's to spark conversation between strangers, because a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. So if you could recommend a daily practice that I or my audience do for the next year, what would it be and why?
Great question. So I've just finished listening to Craig Ballantyne's, or he's got a course. I think it's something about the perfect morning ritual or something like that. And I've done a lot of different morning rituals, but the thing I love about what he says, and I've started to do it, is the first 15 minutes of your day, work on something, work on the most important thing for you. So what most people do, like there's morning rituals where you go out and you meditate and you exercise and all of these sort of things. And that might be the most important thing. But all I'm thinking, if someone's listening to this, they're like, I really want to start a business. Okay, I really want to start a business. Then sit down one Saturday afternoon and go, what are all the steps I need to actually get, I hate my job, I want to start a business. What are all the next steps I need to do to do that? Okay, and then for the first 15 minutes of every day, work on those steps. Work on those steps and just do it. And you'll be amazed, because 15 minutes a day is, even if it's just every weekday, is 75 minutes a year. 75 minutes a week, should I say. But it's like, we're looking at like probably 60, 70 hours a year that you're actually investing, and you can get a heck of a lot achieved in that period of time. So that would be my thing in the morning. The first 50, if you can make it 30 minutes, 60 minutes, great. But all of us can get up 15 minutes early, no matter how busy we are, and just work on that thing that's going to move us towards our objectives. So that might be writing an email. That might be creating a free report. That might be, I don't know, if you listen to this, your particular situation, but work on that one thing which is going to take you there, because the compound effect of that is massive. You
can write your email. You can use that 15 minutes to write 2 emails in the 7-minute method you shared on the show. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the first 15 minutes of my day just to write an email, 2 emails a day. So one in the morning, one at night, or 2 different days email. I think that's what I'm going to do with my 15 minutes in the morning. That's what I'm going to do. That is the goal, to write, maybe not every day, like writing email every day like you, Scott, but at least 5 days a week. 5 days a week. I can do that. That's easy. It's very easy to do. Scott, I'm going to jump off the screen here. I want you to let my audience know where they can connect with you, where they can follow you, and all that amazing stuff. So the floor, sir, is yours.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Phil. So probably the best thing to do if you want to learn more about particularly the email and the AI side of things, I've got a cheat sheet. It's called the Ultimate AI Email Writing Cheat Sheet. And what you'll discover in this is you'll get 5 jack-in-the-box openers designed to grab your reader's attention and draw them into your message. You'll get 5 solution prompts which get to the heart of what you're trying to say and show the reader how you can solve their specific problems. Plus, you'll get 3 powerful commands to write compelling subject lines that boost your open rates. So if you want to get your hands on that, just go to www.simpleemailroi.com/AI. That's www.simpleemailroi.com/AI. Download that, and then start implementing that for the first 15 minutes of your day. And I think you'll get some massive opportunities. If you want to know more about the system, go to www.simpleemailroi.com. And if you'd like to get in touch about just general copywriting, copywritingthatsells.com.au.
Awesome. Scott, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom with myself and my audience today.
Yeah, no, thanks, Phil. It's been heaps of fun. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. To my audience, of course, as you know, the links will be down in the show notes down below, specifically the emailroi.com/AI. I said that right, correct?
Yeah, it is. simpleemailroi.com/AI. That's right. And we're fixing it, but put a www on the front of it, and it'll go directly to that page.
There you go. So it's going to be in the show notes down below. Go ahead and download that and start investing in yourself.